I think the key to understanding how black people fit into the Tartarian and Atlantean mystery can be found in Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 14 to the end of the chapter. When I first came across these verses, I was absolutely blown away, because I realized almost instantly they were talking about the Native Americans and African Americans. And so my previous suspicion that Africans, Native Americans, the Aborigine, and all the other indigenous peoples of the world are actually the 12 tribes of Israel only got stronger. Because in Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 14 and on, it talks about the Israelites being punished by God because they worshipped alien gods. What I think this really means is whatever God was talking that decided to punish the people was actually an evil God who became jealous of the progress of humankind and their understanding of the forces of nature, aka their new gods. Before European warmongers, colonizers, and economic hitmen ravaged Africa, they were basically a cohesive empire. Anybody who's interested at home in understanding how incredible some of the African empires were, just look up Alkebulan. It's essentially what Africa called itself and its many empires before European colonization. The Moors, the Kush, and so many other had grand empires, and I believe, just like Tartaria, they were territories within the global empire of Atlantis. Before what seemed to be Europeans invaded Africa, another people invaded Europe. Seemingly out of the blue, way back when, an unknown force of seafaring people raided Europe in a surprise attack. The only thing they were able to do was send some emissaries down to Africa who got to Egypt and told them what was happening. Fortunately, at that point, Egypt was able to defend itself because it was able to prepare for this surprise attack. But unfortunately, these mysterious people, who you can find in Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 14 and on, who invaded Europe, slowly chipped away at the African empires. That's because these beings were built for war and oppression and slavery and all the other really bad stuff that people do to each other. Their mission was literally to take down Africa, just like their mission was literally to take down Europe and Tartaria and any other civilized nation. So then, this prophecy that this evil God told you, the Israelites, that you would be taken over, your lands would be ravaged, and then you would be taken to a land not your own to be oppressed, actually happened once slavery occurred. You know me, I'm touch and go with the Bible and biblical stories, but this one is just staring us in the face, screaming that our history is not what we thought it was. I hope this helped. There's a lot more there, but starting with Alkebulan will really help you understand like a lot of these advanced African empires, obviously Egypt, the Kush, the Moors, and many others. There is so much suppressed history about a glorious Africa that used to exist.
So check this out. These are bones stacked up in a catacomb. Now, what y'all don't realize is these bones are all over the world under cities. They're in Rome, they're in Greece, they're in Spain, they're in every single Moorish and or Tartarian stronghold. Why? Because the NPCs had to get rid of the Moors and the Tartarians in order to take over their structure, their land, and their devices. Now, I'm making this video because I've figured out there's a catacomb right in the Russian square that nobody knows about. Watch this. What does it look like going on here? What the hell does it look like's going on here? I'll tell you. These motherfuckers are stacking our ancestors' bones. These are, yes, you're looking at fucking bones. No, this is not construction. This ain't construction. You see that? It's a stack of fucking human bones. Okay? This right here is the Russian square. Look, see all these guys in black? They're not doing construction. Stacking and standing on top of bones, trying to figure out what to do with all of these bones. Look at this scene. Look at this scene. Look at all those bones. Like, are you kidding me? And another thing, right? If you read this photo, you can tell these aren't like freshly killed bones. You know, because they'd still have stuff and this, that, and the third. These are picked clean. These are bones that sat out, dried over time. So, what you're seeing here is a huge bone burial ground. And they were digging, probably about to build something, found this, and was like, yo, let's just stack these joints up. I mean, think about it. What is really going on here in this scene? Look at all of those goddamn bones, yo. And in case you're wondering what it looks like after, you see that building right there? That's that building right there. See it right there with the clock on it. See it right here again with the clock on it. Meaning what exactly? Meaning that right now, these people are walking on, taking pictures, and having a good time as they walk over bones. This right here is this right here, which is now this right here. But I haven't heard anybody speak about the catacomb of bones in the Russian square. I find that odd. But I guarantee you, if we start digging right here and clear this out, there's a catacomb of bones beneath there. Prove me wrong. I dare you. Unless you want to convince me they took the time to, you think they stacked up all those bones so that they can transport them somewhere? Nope. You can tell by the height. Look at where that is up there, right? Look at the height and look at where they are down here. So you already know they built up and over this shit. And now you know underneath the Russian square is a catacomb of Tartarian bones. But when the mind is blind, the eyes can't see.
So a lot of y'all wanted to know what happened to the Tartarians. Where did they go? Well, I'm going to show you where they went. The Paris catacombs are full of bones because the remains of millions of people were relocated there to solve the problem of overflowing cemeteries in Paris. I don't know about you, but since when do cemeteries overflow? Especially when the population is very, very dense. At the time, Paris had a population of maybe 200,000 people, max. As Paris grew during the early industrial age, the city cemeteries became overcrowded with the dead. Overcrowded. The large cemeteries in Paris at the time, at less innocence, were so full that it began to smell like rotten bodies. So, y'all just didn't bury your dead 6 feet deep? Y'all just forgot? Does this even make any sense? This is the stuff they draw up that you're supposed to believe. Then the city's underground quarries, look at, were beginning to collapse, and the catacombs were already built to consolidate these quarries. The bones were transported at night to avoid disturbing the local population and the church priests accompanied the remains and chanted Catholic office of the who? The process of moving the bones took 12 years and continued until 1859. Some of the oldest, like a whole bunch of smack just to say, you know, you guys committed genocide, and then you bury their bones beneath the city or cities. Here's some bones. Does it look like they basically just so happen to have an overflow of bones and they just put these in a catacomb? Look at that. Look at that, all done up with a cross and everything. And let's not forget, the Catholic priests are the ones who actually ran the Moors out of Spain. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget there was a little war going on here. Here you go again, some more bones. When they counted all of these bones and bodies, look at that. It was 6 million in total. Look at the cross again. Like somebody killed off their enemy and made a beautiful trophy case. Isn't that what it looks like? Look at how intricately they stack these bones. Look at that. Look at the skulls. Like a trophy case. Like a modern day predator. More skulls. Stacked intricately. Very intricately. Look at that. Nice cross pattern. Like someone here was proud of their work. Not like they were up at night with a horse and buggy just loading up rotten corpses to drag them across town. Let's be real. There's the date, name of the cemetery, where all the bones are, 1787. More bones. And look at that. The robe of a priest, like a Catholic priest with a, you know, they dressed him up like a beautiful skeleton and then made like this shrine here. Does it look like they dragged these bones out of an overflowing cemetery? Or is somebody very, very proud of their work? More bones. Filled with bones. Hallways full. Ceilings full. Look at those, look at the pattern, look at the bones. You keep asking where the Tartarians went. They went right here. And here. And here. And there. And here. Because that's what you do with people's bones. You put them down there, you stack their skulls and their bones up, and then you put them on display as a tourist site. That's what you do when you're mocking somebody. And yes, here too. Let me show you how karma works. These guys are pumping water, unaware they are in the presence of the notorious pump of death. In 1876, the water began to taste strange and was found to contain liquid human remains, which had seeped into the underground stream from cemeteries. Several hundred people died in the resultant Allgate pump epidemic as a result of drinking polluted water. The spring water of the Allgate pump had been appreciated by many for its abundant health-giving mineral salts until an unexpected horrific development. It was discovered that the calcium in the water had leached from human bones. How did that happen? I'm going to tell you how it happened. They put those dead bodies underneath the city and they left them there. And then they went to go use this water that's not supposed to be used for what they think it is. Remember, the water was only used for energy and for it to flow. And it's supposed to run underground and do what it's supposed to do. That's it. It's part of a system. But what did they do? They went there, they seen the water, and of course, they drank the water after they stuck the bodies and the bones underneath the city. And this is them drinking that water. And those bones, remains from the bones underneath the city, like all cities. Because that's what they did with the Tartarians. That's why every time you dig underneath a city, New York, anywhere, somewhere, you're going to dig and you're going to find a burial site all the time. And for years, we've always called it an Indian burial. You know, it's a Tartarian burial site. Because that's what they did. And that's how they ended up up. Because what they did was they poisoned their own water with dead bodies. So, if you wanted to know where the Tartarians went, I just told you. Take a look at that building. It's Tartarian. So is this structure right here. And it's not made for that.